This is our discussion of The X-Files, Fight the Future, the X-Files movie, from Load Bearing Beams, episode 19, from January 12th, 2018. Hello, everybody. This is Load Bearing Beams, the podcast.
Can you dig it?
Go ahead.
No, that was all I had.
It sounded promising.
Nope.
But so we're off to a rollicking start in this new year. The Load Bearing podcast here is about movies and relationships, and my name is Matt Stokes.
I'm Lacey Roth.
And the two of us are married to each other. And, you know, being in a marriage is kind of like running a movie studio. Wouldn't you agree?
I get best grip.
That old chestnut.
Okay.
You know why?
Craft services.
Well,
tell me why.
So movie studios, you know, all they really want are franchises.
Right, and we just want to spread our brand.
Well, but why is that? Why would you prefer a franchise over a standalone movie?
Well, because then it does the work for you. Yeah, it gets ahead of steam.
The marketing is built in. You don't have to sell people on a new thing. You're like, hey, you know Captain America, he's back.
Right.
And, you know,
we're married.
Okay, here's why.
Okay.
This makes a lot of sense. So it's, 9 o'clock. The kids have finally fucked off. You're like, we have like 28 minutes before we collapse asleep from exhaustion.
Oh, this is
what
a
are we
PM
gonna watch?
fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get a movie, you kind of have to sit there and scroll through Netflix and everything, trying to figure out what you want. You have to sell each other on something. You're like, I don't know, 2 hours is a lot of time to invest. You get a TV show, right? You're like, that's like weeks of content. We don't have to negotiate.
Okay, but how does that make our marriage like a franchise?
Because we have to, it's easier for us to pick existing properties because then we don't have to sell them to each other. It's just time to watch TV. We can watch a movie, but then we'd have to struggle to pick out something.
Here's the thing we can't be held responsible for because we've already both signed off on this shit. I got you.
What if we watch a good movie? Oh, that's awesome. But 2 hours later, it's over. It's gone.
It's done.
What are we going to watch tomorrow? I don't fucking know.
Fuck.
Thus, this podcast.
Is there a sequel?
Mm-hmm. Because when you watch a movie with someone, you're held accountable for
it's a 2-hour investment where time is all that we have, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're held accountable, and so you feel responsible. You feel sensitive about your choice. You want the other person to enjoy it, to appreciate what you like.
And specifically with the way we do it, if we get 10, 15 minutes in or 45 minutes or an hour in and it's my movie that I picked and it is garbage, you do not let us turn it off. It's even worse than
I want to see it through. I mean, I'm a completist, and I like to write down every movie I see, so I don't get to write it down if I don't watch the whole thing.
Yeah, when you're audited,
give it a star rating.
People are going to know you're a sham. Look
up my movies on Letterboxd.com. I'm Matt Stokes 9. Anyway,
I don't even know who you are right now.
So the idea here is each of us, Lacey and I, both pick a movie that we like, that we love.
We're vouching for. We're going to go ahead and say, yeah, it's worth it. Let's spend our 2 hours this way. God, I hope I'm right.
But we haven't seen it in a while.
Right.
And maybe
we're picking a movie specifically that we have seen, but it's years ago. And the overall recollection is, that shit was good.
But maybe I was an idiot when I was a teenager.
Which is mostly true.
Maybe my taste was bad. Or maybe I liked something that now is like the Bible of the Nazis. But in the meantime, Nazis have happened. I don't know. That's
not right. Those... Now the actual Nazis, not those pretenders.
My brother recently told me that I bring up Nazis like every day. And I didn't realize it, but he said that, and then you said, yeah, that's true. You didn't know that? It's like, oh, I had no idea.
You tend to binge on topics.
Okay.
And, we both like to listen to political news. It comes up a lot.
Yeah. you wouldn't expect Nazis to come up a lot, but they do. But I'm like Mulder. I'm like, guess what, Lacey? Guess what I found out? Let me guess. Aliens. Like that kind of thing. Everything comes back to aliens or everything comes back to Nazis. Anyway, tying it all together.
Okay.
Our selections today, I went with the X-Files movie from 1998. They made a movie out of the TV show.
Should have called it the Y Files.
Exactly. And your movie,
Y.
Lacey, is?
Boondock Saints.
The Boondock Saints from 1999. Bit of a cult classic, that.
Cult is a good choice of words here.
So, I look forward to a discussion about the X-Files and the Boondock Saints after this. Will you indulge me for a moment?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking about the topic, because I love shit like this, of TV shows turned into movies.
Okay, so we're starting with the X-Files?
Yeah. If you'd paid attention in the intro, you'd
I hardly ever pay attention in the intro.
That.
But I was thinking the same thing in the bathroom this morning, and I couldn't come up with many that aren't an animated series.
Okay.
And even less that do it in the middle of their height.
Oh, this is why we're married. Okay.
I mean, I really was coming up empty. I almost came downstairs, but I knew that the kid was still here, so I didn't. And asked you if I were forgetting some, because surely I must be. It is such a weird. It's like fan porn that they made.
Well, so I put this into three categories of TV shows turned into movies. So one, you have your adaptation of an existing TV show, usually an old TV show.
Oh, that feels like cheating.
And then I kind of divide that into two, or even like three. You have your animated shows that are made into live action movies. You have your live action shows that are made into live action movies. And then you kind of have like a live action movie that spoofs the old TV show, which I think started with the Brady Bunch. And now you have 21 Jump Street.
I guess I almost feel like that category doesn't even matter here. I literally mean the person in possession of the studio rights to that entity doing it in real time while it's still a thing.
But I just mentioned the first category because that's like definitely the widest category of TV shows turned into movies.
And it seems so ubiquitous, it doesn't even seem like you should mention it.
I have a giant list here of things, but you don't want me to go into those.
We can all think of exactly what you're talking about with that.
Yeah. So then you have movies that are basically sequels of TV shows that have ended.
Like tie it up or just give you a little bit more closure.
So you have
another bump,
like Jackass, the Jackass movies.
Oh, I was thinking Sex and the City. Actually,
Sex and the City.
Both of their movies, I mean, that their fans went to them. We all miss Sex and the City so much.
And they both came after the series ended.
Exactly. It made sense. It finished the Carrie and Big story.
You have... I've never seen any of these.
I'm not asking you to.
The Star Trek movies and the Star Trek Next Generation movies both came after those series had ended.
How quickly after Star Trek series did the first one come out?
The first Star Trek TV show ended in 69 or 70, and then the first movie was 79. So it was actually
like almost too big of
kind of a big gap. But then Next Generation ended in 94, I believe, and the first Next Generation movie came out later that year.
Okay, so that I'm better with that. The first one sounds more like that first category that it's almost not doing anything.
But it wasn't a remake. It was literally a continuation of the old story. It wasn't we have like the new Star Trek movies where we have new actors playing Kirk and Spock. This was the same actors, same crew is back. You have the Jetsons movie was made like 30 years after the Jetsons TV show.
No, you're still going with the first category. I don't care about the first category. No, it's not interesting.
Name more things on my list. You said you'd indulge me. No. It is interesting.
Well, then you can tell me off air. I don't feel like it's interesting. Everyone can think of movies that are that category. It's not.
Okay.
This is why we're getting divorced.
And then, I was so excited. I was like, oh, you want to talk about this?
I do. I want to talk about the interesting part.
And then you have this category, which is the rarest one of all, I think, which is the theatrically released movie that occurs in the middle of a TV show's run.
Why would you do that? It's like, I mean, writing, it's a finite resource. Good writing, even finite here.
Well, you get a big budget. You get a longer running time. You get the prestige of your story being shown in a theater. What do you mean? Like, everybody wants to make movies, I think. Especially,
I guess I just feel like, I mean, I know this happened at a time when what could be done with a really good series on television had not been discovered yet.
Here,
right.
In 1998.
So I get why in this time you would want to do that, but I mean, save your big ideas and explosions and budget for making really good episodes. I guess that's just something that came later. So
well, and you also try to expand your audience. People are going to they wanted to make something that would appeal to non-fans of the show.
It would have.
I did not succeed, I don't think, but they were trying to do that, and something shows up in theaters gives it a lot more prestige.
Okay.
Than it just having another episode, or even having a 2-hour, special event.
If I'm not
movie.
An X-Files fan or a fan of some kind of show and it shows up in the theater, I only feel more annoyed. I feel like it's trying to take over. Like, oh God, now it's here. I don't feel like, oh, now's my chance. I certainly didn't think I'd be able to watch the movie not having any background in the show and get it. You and I, that we watched, I don't know how many seasons or shows we watched of X-Files a while back, and I enjoyed it. So I didn't feel that way, that I was going to not get it when we watched it. But if I had never seen any of the shows, it would not have felt like it was for me. So in that regard, for this potential viewer, it did not expand its audience.
I was a giant fan of X-Files when I was a teenager.
I could tell from all the shirts.
I have one X-Files shirt.
It's very memorable.
And, it was the first, for a lot of people, it was like the first show that you sort of obsess over. You deconstruct the mythology, you try to track everying.
So it was your Star Trek.
Yeah, but it happened when the internet was a thing, so you could actually read about it online. And yeah, I was a big fan when I was a teenager. I loved the movie because the movie was part of the TV show.
Right.
So that's kind of why I chose the movie. And I had not seen this movie in a long, long time. I felt like, I'm sure it's fine. It's not like we're going to watch it and be like, boy, this is garbage. But you make your displeasure and frustration very apparent, and it was oozing out of you as we watched this movie last night. So what did you think?
If I think of these people as prototypes for something that was going to be done better later, then I can appreciate it. But the two character types that they're trying to put, Mully and Skolder, nope, definitely not either of their names, Scully and Mulder, which they don't turn this movie into a drinking game wherein you drink at the mention of their names, you will die. Scully, the brainiac doctor, scientist, FBI, everything in this one person, and Mulder being this rambling intelligently, stream of consciousness speaker who never answers anything succinctly, and he thinks it's cute, but he doesn't tell you he's in on the joke. He just does it, but he's thinking, I nailed that 18-word line.
And always we're driving through the middle of the desert. Mulder, what are you not telling me?
Right. Well, at this point, he's not telling you about aliens. Aliens. If he's not telling you, aliens.
Well, right. This moment that you're talking about happens 60% of the movie into the movie, and she's like, Mulder, what are you not telling me? What's in those tanker trucks that we're chasing? And he's like, extraterrestrials. And she's like, oh God,
you son of a bitch.
What did you think was happening?
I was gonna give you Roadhead, and but I know
so sexist.
What I know about. He was going to give her Roadhead, but that's dangerous because he was driving. But what I know about the show without ever watching is that there's that bated breath saying of, well, they or won't they? And I understand that when they finally did get together, the series probably it lost some people's interest. Wait.
When they finally got together, the show dipped in quality, but not because of that. It happened deep into the show's run. It was the 7th season. You're out of.
But
shit
The Office, you want Jim and Pam to get together so bad, and when they do, it's satisfying for a while, and then you unfortunately just watch them become a married couple.
The Office was still good for a few years after they got together. Those characters did lose some of their appeal.
They lost a lot, yeah.
I mean, the point of
Monica and Chandler.
Point of Mulder and Scully is they are in love with each other, and they're best friends, and they're professional partners. So they're you and me, if you think about it. But they
kiss each other on the forehead a lot.
Channel every all their feelings for each other into their work. So so I feel like that could be sustained for a very, very long time, because it's not will they or won't they. It's like, well, they should, but they won't.
Right.
Or maybe they shouldn't, but they will.
Exactly.
And when they finally go in to kiss each other in this movie, Scully gets stung by an alien bee.
Right.
And Mulder's like, God damn it.
I just feel like I haven't seen a trailer for this, but I feel like I know every single frame that they used, and they definitely suggested to the audience that it was finally time. Like, this is the reason for the movie. They're gonna kiss.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I mean, the X-Files came before the semiotics of TV shows and TV show tropes are kind of well understood, because you didn't have very robust online fan communities. Mulder and Scully were the original characters around whom people would ship, like shippers. If you wanted them to end up together, you were a shipper. If you didn't, you were not a shipper. This movie this TV show kind of invented a lot of that, or came before a lot of that was well understood. If it was made today, they'd be like, hey, we got to do something about the fact that they should obviously be together, like in the middle of season 1. Right. Because it's going to be distracting to the fans. But this came before that.
Right. All right, then.
Should we get into the plot of the movie? Why are you so frustrated?
It's just it's just a shit bomb wrapped in a throw up blanket.
For wanting to appeal to a lot of people, they sure chose kind of a very basic plot. There's nothing. If this were just an episode of the TV show, it would not be a standout one.
Right.
It's just alien virus is found in a hole in Texas. A kid falls into the hole and gets infected with the virus. I did say during the movie, I admire that they gave these kids legitimate Texas accents.
Don't try and do one. Yeah, I know, and I noticed that from the first line. I thought, that's authentic.
Yeah, and TV shows kind of pave over that kind of thing, but this is not afraid to. So good on that. And then we go to downtown Dallas, where there's a federal building, and there's a bomb in there that they're looking for, and then a building gets blown up. And I've said to you, I remembered that this movie was made before the Oklahoma City bombing, but released after it.
Right. And
you were pretty upset by
I just think it's for how little I'm sure this movie advanced the X-Files brand to anyone that wasn't already super into it. But you made the good point of they probably used most of their budget on what they did to this building, but it looked, having just watched the Netflix documentary about that, it looked
about the bombing,
it was identical.
Okay, well, I was wrong. This movie was made 2 years after the Oklahoma City bombing and came out in 1998. 3 years after the bombing.
A cheap ploy.
So I don't know what the hell they were thinking, because they even on-screen caption says federal building, downtown Dallas. The federal building is what was bombed in Oklahoma City.
They ripped it in half, and you could see into each of the offices with the paper flying exactly the way that it looked in the footage.
Yes. And they didn't even need that shot. You could just take out that shot.
You don't, right.
And still have the building explode. But I don't know if it was that was intent, because they did try to rip real life elements and then incorporate them into the TV show, but this isn't that. This isn't suggesting aliens were behind Timothy McVeigh. It's just hey, remember when the federal building was blown up in a western
And the entire point of this is to show you the links that whoever's covering up this alien virus thing that's been around for apparently since before mankind, that they'll go to such extremes that even the leader of the FBI guy who was he went in there to disarm the bomb, he went in there to purposely die with the bomb. And blow up this entire freaking building. That's how important it is to keep this a secret.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's not clever, because eventually Martin Landau reveals those bodies that were recovered from the wreckage from the blown up building. They were already dead before the bomb went off.
Right.
And it's supposed to like hit you like, oh my God. But it's like, that's dumb.
They were inside.
Surely there's a better way to get rid of bodies that you don't want exhumed.
Right. And I'm sorry, ma'am, from North Texas, whose kid recently fell into a hole in the ground, that we immediately surrounded with FEMA tanks so that no one could get in. They never let the mom see or hear from the child. They immediately load that child in a space coffin onto a truck or something, take him to Dallas, where they safely keep him in a building that they blow up the next day. So that mom lost her son twice.
Yeah, then he was blown up. And she wasn't...
That's the twice. But it's just needless. And they don't ever...
And she didn't ask any questions. She's like,
no questions.
Without a trace, the body be gone. Nobody be any the wiser.
Except for when Scully and Mulder want to get a look at these corpses. They just walk in to where the corpses have already been overtaken by the alien stuff, then blown up.
Yeah.
They're just laying there.
Yeah, well, Scully's, they're always able to just get into morgues, and then she's always able to do an autopsy, which apparently takes many, many hours, and she's always just doing it.
And she almost gets caught at the end.
But then she makes it out, and she's like, hey.
She shows up in the next scene.
Oh, my hair's a little, oof.
Her hair.
I had to hide in a freezer for 18 hours, but I managed to give him a slip. And I was reading Roger Ebert's review of this movie. He said it well. He says, they spend much of their time gaining unchallenged entry into vast installations that should be better guarded. Yeah, that's pretty well said. Also, these vast installations are never have any people in them. They're always empty, whether it's the giant bee dome or the actual alien ship. We've not recorded for like the past 30 minutes.
It's not that big of a deal. Okay, we're back from a break.
Back!
Okay.
I thought it was very funny that... it's funny to revisit X-Files, and when we now hear so much about the deep state, and what this show is basically, and this movie is basically about, is the deep state at work, like bureaucrats and agents in the field trying to undermine
all of the world's white men,
feckless leaders. Mm-hmm. Well, no, the white men in this case are the like super old rich dudes who get in a literal smoke-filled room and decide the future of the planet.
It's nice that you think that's the only white men. This movie had nothing but.
Okay, sorry. Yes, there's very little diversity, but
there was none. There was 0 black people. I looked.
There was a black person in the syndicate,
and you could barely see him.
Yeah, he's okay. Well, I think it's an intentional choice, but
right, like he's from Zimbabwe. Like you're supposed to just think that's a world leader from a black place.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah, they're like, we got a woman who's a co-lead. We're done. Although this woman disappears halfway through the movie.
Yeah, she's a fucking damsel. Yeah, constantly.
Which is weird.
She even faints.
Yeah, but she even faints. But what?
He survives a gunshot to the head.
Why would you take out, like, the appeal of the show is it's 2 people. Here's a movie. Let's try to appeal and broaden our audience, and let's take out one of the characters.
They couldn't stretch out the angsty love thing enough, so you catch them almost kissing, and she immediately disappears. So it lets you stretch out that yearning for a kiss for the rest of the movie. It's a trick.
Yeah, I know it's a trick, but
it's a trick, and you've been tricked.
All right. Anyway,
you know what?
It's funny.
You know what?
Yes.
Tell me more of your list on.
Oh, fuck you.
I was really trying, and now I'm fucking over it. Never mind.
Not really fuck you. I said that with more venom than I intended. The Simpsons movie, South Park.
Oh, wait, you're doing it?
No, not really. Martin Landau, who plays this conspiracy nut who ends up being right, goes on and on. He's like, have you ever heard of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA? And Mulder's like, oh, like, do you know they can suspend the Constitution and take over the country and instill military rule and there's no more civil rights? Yeah, that's what FEMA can do. And it's just funny to watch a movie now that everybody knows what FEMA is.
Right, it's
and
in songs.
Especially where we live, FEMA is a synonym for
fuck up,
yeah, right. And trailers and mismanagement and Anyway, I found that amusing. I found it amusing.
Let's talk about this Landau fucker. I know he's supposed to seem like a kook, and I know he's supposed to seem like he's on the fringes of society, but there's no reason that he has to be introduced as a person who you catch watching you pee while you're very drunk, whose seventh word is drinky, who is a gynecologist, but no need for that, and who you only meet and tends to always find himself day or night in an alley.
Yeah, lots of alleys.
And then he gets put on trumped up charges because he's getting too close to the truth for child pornography, which he lovingly calls kiddie porn. He doesn't. Why does he have to be all of these disgusting things? Can't he just be inside?
Yeah, it's a lot of business. Now, the reason that he identifies himself as an OBGYN, I really think this is why. One, you're not going to forget that, and it immediately tells you, okay, so he has nothing to do with the government or with the conspiracy or aliens or whatever.
Right.
So he's totally should not be an expert on this, and yet he's writing books on this, which it's to immediately give him some remove from that world. And then later when Mulder goes into his apartment... If he would have said
proctologist, I would have thought, okay, alien probing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So you couldn't go with the other funny doctor.
And later, when Mulder goes into his apartment, he's not like going to look into the camera and say, I'm now going to Martin Landau's apartment.
But he says that.
He says it after he talks to a police officer there, but he immediately looks down and there's magazines about gynecology, so instantly you're like, oh, this is Landau's apartment.
Okay, but watch this movie magic.
Okay.
I go in, I just talk to the fucking cop.
Yeah.
Then I don't need the goddamn books. He says it immediately. It's not needed. And it's books from the 70s on like how to talk to your daughter about her flower. They looked really weird, these books.
So he's a fake OBGYN.
And it's not fake. It's just he's distracted. He cares more about the aliens. I'm worried about the women that go to see him.
It's a fair point.
Well, and he delivers babies. He was also he's an OB-GYN.
That's what that means?
Obstetrician means,
Oh, yeah.
He extracts the babies.
Thank you for being our baby expert.
Oh, God, I hate you. Later on Makeup Today.
I'm just kidding. You're smarter.
Keep going.
Okay. There were a lot of words and things that seem to really bother you. You're very easily bothered.
Period.
Well, yes, period. But just things in movies. We were watching this movie, A Ghost Story, a few nights ago. And listeners, if you haven't seen this movie,
run.
Casey Affleck plays a ghost in a sheet, and you said the movie was ruined for you because you were just expecting him to get a boner.
That's what pops out of sheets for me.
Like this, but things like I never think about these things, but these things apparently like consume you as you watch movies and ruin them for you. So Martin Landau describing alcohol as drinky, you're just like, I can't.
No, I usually can't with Martin Landau. Just generally, he's upsetting.
Mulder like hangs out at his haunt, his bar that he frequents is like a family bar.
I pointed that out. Yeah. Like he's going to tie one on because he's had a world-class shit day. Yeah. And he goes there so infrequently that this not so clever, sassy bartender does not know him, then cuts him off. But it's his place. And then he's walking through a restaurant to find the bathroom. This is a bar and grill.
It's like a buffalo head on the wall.
You're not doing this right.
Like kids are coloring on the tables.
And then he walks out and behind him it says,
there's a seedy alley and then Martin Landau's like, holding your yank, huh? Yank.
And then he goes to that same spot that David Duchovny was peeing in the alley where Martin Landau walks up and says, holding your yank. Okay, David Duchovny's very drunk. He finishes peeing. As Martin's walking up to him, thinking like, we'll have a conversation now. Nope, goes right into David Duchovny's pee spot. Mm-hmm. It's an alley. The whole thing's a pee spot. He could have peed where he stood. And he wants to put his pee in that pee puddle and talk to him while holding his yank.
A little thing, doctor, called decorum. What do you think of... Okay. We didn't probably explain. You've seen about like 10 episodes of X-Files. Mm-hmm. You enjoyed it. It seems like we never really caught on with us. It didn't become one of our shows. But what do you think of these two performers?
I think you felt too apologetic about it. Well, it just wasn't. It wasn't like a show that we'd mutually agreed on, and therefore could just relax. And
it was like a load-bearing beam. It's like I'm
every
nervous
single
about this.
night.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
And because
but it's perfect for this load-bearing beam thing because this show was really important to you, and you very much, it's one of the first things you identified with as like you wanted to get nerdy about it. So it's perfect for what we're trying to do with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather not watch the rest of this with you for you to slowly ruin this for me bit by bit.
Yep. Especially because...
Told you it was you.
Especially...
You said I wanted to stop, and I immediately corrected
you're right
you.
about
There's...
that.
Thank you.
No, well,
It doesn't mean it wasn't because of me, but I didn't stop us.
I know you didn't stop us, but...
It would be like
you were
us
not
watching Saved by the Bell together. That would be fucking hard.
Sure. And I've watched an episode of Saved by the Bell as an adult. I'd never watched one as a kid, and I was like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? This is the worst thing I've ever seen.
And it's just so greatly bad. I love it. Okay. Can continue.
X-Files had 24 episodes a season. If it was made today, there'd be 10. They'd all be part of an ongoing story. So there's just so many inessential episodes.
Right.
And I don't know which ones are good and which ones are bad.
They're like CDs.
So it was just too much
from the
work.
90s.
Yeah.
There's 3 that you're supposed to listen to, and then all the fluff.
Now that's what I call X-Files of X-Files.
Now that's what I call X-Files.
So
this is why we're married.
That's why we kind of stopped. I was just too nervous.
Anyway, yeah, go on.
Yeah, but I think the two actors are great. They're great actors.
I love David Duchovny, and I like her too. Except for she talks like she kept her retainer in.
Oh my god!
And asses are tricky.
I think they're
Mulder. My name is.
Now that I watch Mulder, I find him incredibly obnoxious, but in a way that works because Scully is there to totally undercut him.
Except for then she kind of goes on riffs too, and it's like one of you has to be less riffy.
But that's if she were always skeptical of him, if she were always...
Oh, no. I'm good with her having trust in him and going with his theories and believing him when she has the adequate evidence. I'm saying that her talking style is just as verbal. They're both prolific.
They're both prolific, yeah. They're verbose.
Fucking
Speechifying.
annoying.
Okay.
Like, I think people figured out later that smart people can be succinct.
Yeah. Do you think if Mulder, in real life, the Fox Mulder character should be, like, ugly?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
not... Like, if he didn't
not
look
buff.
like David Duchovny... Like, the reason Mulder has a job is because he looks like that, right?
Like, if he were the guy from Love... That seems more like the Mulder, and he even in his own way is still attractive, the guy from Love, but that's because he does non-nerdy things. So you put a nerd in the nerd role, and then you've got
no one would take him seriously. I mean, no one takes Mulder seriously,
theory.
but yet he still has this career as an FBI agent and like has some respect. He's well known.
They've kicked him out a lot.
Circles. Yeah, like the X-Files are shut down in this movie, and I was thinking, like, did you know this is only the second time the X-Files have been shut down at this point in the series? And then they get reopened at the end. That's just always happening. They're always like, you're shut down, Agent Mulder. Closing thoughts. I think William B. Davis is the cigarette-smoking man. I've never thought it before, but as I looked at him watching the movie last night, like, you look so good. He looks so much like what that character should look like. He looks like a lifetime bureaucrat. No, just like as a guy, he's worked for the government or just like he's just like a CEO. Just looks like a shitty old white man. Like, yeah. Right. I don't know. I just love the way he looks.
How he smokes around flammable gas.
I love that too.
In clean rooms.
Love that.
Okay.
The actor said he didn't smoke before the show, but he got hooked, and he's like, "When's the X-Files gonna call me back? I need to smoke."
That's fucked up.
So there you have it. The X-Files: Fight the Future. It's a stupid title.
Ooh. Fight the future.
Fight the future. They worked that into the movie several times.
Fight the future, and I'm the one that picked an alt-right movie on accident.
Yeah, whatever.
Yours is.
3, 4. Everybody, love Mary Keens, love Mary.